to take control of appreciation.
So let's hit it. Hi, it's Alan Victoria. Welcome to our Talent Podcast.
And if this is your first time in our podcast and YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe and get notified.
Honestly, I call the text all the time at 252-327-3357. We love talking to you, so don't be shy. Now, today we're going to talk a little bit more about appreciation. And now, there is some parts of it that are going to be out of your control, but there are definitely some parts that are 100% in your control and things to think about when you're buying this house, that you're especially buying your first house. So now, maybe you were perfectly lucky and you buy a house where you bought it for $200 and then
during the coronavirus.
Right, you bought a house, now it's worth $300,000. And it doesn't have to be the coronavirus, because let's be honest, I grew up in a condo that was selling for $120,000, two-story condo in Boston, overlooking the city and the ocean and the water. That condo that I grew up in, that was worth almost nothing because it was the 80s, is now worth $10 million, right? And my parents did not make $10 million. They did not listen to me when I was 16 years old. They thought I was an annoying little kid who didn't know anything, so they didn't listen to me, but if they had, they'd be millionaires. Look at that. But so it taught me at a very early age, appreciation is a real thing, and you have to look at what the property's value is, how much people actually will want that neighborhood or want that house, because this gave me life lessons that I use all the time as a real estate agent.
Well, to be honest, I always say we wanted to give you that, because this is again in a smart choice series that we have for home buying.
And there are two.
And give you all the details that you can think of is food for your thought.
Absolutely.
That think about it when you wanted to make a decision on time for you.
Right, so there are two types.
There are two types of appreciation, which first is going to be the market appreciation that my wife was talking about, the Boston or the housing market during coronavirus. And the second thing is the force appreciation that we're going to go in detail to each of them.
And force appreciation is great because it's what you can control a little bit more. But first, let's talk about the market, and we'll start with the Case-Shilling Index, which is
Schiller.
Case-Shiller, okay. Index. There are three. This is a track where they have three sub-tracks inside. They track 10 different markets, 20 markets, and a national market.
Yeah.
And they're looking at the overall price changes of what's happened year over year, month over month, and the end of the month is when they release the new data for what just happened. So we're not going to go too deep into how they do this index and how they measure. They do only look at single-family homes that are not new constructions. They're not looking at apartments. They're not looking at condos.
At the market value.
They're looking at, and not non-market, which is like a friend is selling to another friend or family. So they're ignoring. But why do they ignore new? Because new has all sorts of everything you want, and sometimes they have all the amazing amenities, the square footage that people want, all like the gadgets, like your home security system that's like built into your house, and all like your place exactly where to put into your TV. Now that's all nice,
which is like a really modern taste.
But typically, new construction increases at a rate of 5%, which is not going to give us normal prices of every other home. So when we look at the long term, we have to exclude new, because new has some different types of movement, and we look at the accurate appreciation of the market and what is the average, what is the calculation of the national trend.
Yeah. After excluding all of this thing other than single family home at the market value and brand new construction, we come to the number 3.4% appreciation in a national level.
So if you're doing a quick and dirty math in your head and you have nothing else and you just want to go with the market value, you can calculate how long you have to own it and how long you have to live at it with a 3.4. And yes, there are different things that can come into factor, and not every market is different, like regional and then hyper focus within the regional, within the neighborhood itself. So let's look at regional appreciation, because regional appreciation is also different from that national trend.
And remember always that past performance never is an indicator for what the future success or the home value is.
You're getting ahead of us though. Remember, like if you're looking at Denver versus
Exactly.
versus Detroit versus Greenville, all of these have different regional numbers.
Yes, exactly.
Now, just look at the basic trends. People have been leaving Detroit for 20 years. No hate on Detroit. My mom was born there. But people have been leaving for 20 years.
Yes.
Denver, people have been moving there for 20 years. In Greenville, we are also getting a lot of movements. Now, a secret of Greenville that I don't know if we discussed, but we are in the top 100.
Top 100.
Of what?
Of those city that attracts many people moving from another states.
In the high-tech sector.
And then we are entering the number 67 in the high-tech series cities.
So we're a small city, but it's a growing city, which is great. And then we do monthly updates every single month to give you our data on that. So Greenville is in the series of being discovered. This is very different from Las Vegas, say, which is always highly volatile. It's the first to fall, the first to rise.
Yes.
Las Vegas is a different beast altogether. So you have to look at your regionalization when you're talking about appreciation. And now I want to talk about your past performance.
Yeah, therefore, really what we talk even in the coronavirus, that most of the houses around the US, they appreciated like more than 20% all the way to 30-35%. That is not gonna happen all the time. Therefore, the future success doesn't depend on the past success.
But what can you ask yourself?
Tell us.
You can ask yourself when you're looking at these homes, is this a place that's going to attract people who have a higher income, higher earners? Is this a place where people are going to be leaving within a year? Are they leaving all the time in this area? Get the flavor of the area and not just the national averages.
Yeah, and then why does the percentage matter that you choose to buy?
Right. Now, if your home is appreciating at that national leverage versus if you're, say, in a market that's a little hotter where it's appreciating at 6%, now this is going to calculate how long you have to live in the house, how long you're going to sell it for a profit. And appreciation is something you can just consider. Now, again, like you said, past performance is not a full indicator of future performance, but it is a measure that we can look at. Now, let's talk about within Greenville or Winterville itself, hyper-focused local factors.
Yes. Therefore, this is one of those gray areas that real estate agent really cannot tell you about that, based on the code of ethics and everything that comes with it. For example, real estate agent cannot tell you what is the school rating is, what is the crime is, if there is a sex offenders in that area. That is you as a home buyer that you can go on the Google and give you the website. For example, what we did for our kids.
GreatSchoolsNiche.com. Crime rates are really easy to look up as well. So as buyers, we look these things up because we understood that the real estate agent can't tell us, but these are things that do matter when it comes to when you're buying the house. Because if you're buying a house next door to a gruesome murder, it's going to decrease the price of that house.
Yes.
Less people want it. Let's be honest with that, because there was a gruesome murder right next door and you don't want to be next victim.
And another thing that actually is very important, driving in the neighborhood.
Absolutely.
That we have a series of video about different subdivision in our local market.
Yes.
But for you in a different part of the United States, it's so important that if you have get a sense driving through the morning or daylight and the evening and see this is basically the subdivision or the place that you wanted to put you and your loved one in.
Because everybody has different flavors, so the house will eventually sell, of course, but how far is it from commercial industry? How far is it from factories? How far is it from grocery stores? How do other neighbors keep their yard? This is all super important when it comes to the individual tastes of people, but also
if it's
what's going on,
in
what
a
the condition.
congested area like a traffic area, or by the street, those are all the factors that really by driving also and get a sense of it, it can give you some clue.
Now, and maybe you've thought I should buy an ugly home and fix it up, but if you buy an ugly home in a neighborhood that's also all looking the same, you're not going to build it up as much. On the other side, if you build a mansion when everybody else has a $150,000 brick house, well then your house is definitely not appreciating as faster because of the neighborhood and shoes you chose to put this mansion in. So, and also there are other considerations. So maybe that traffic is a problem for you, but it's not a problem for everybody. So the house is going to eventually sell, but so don't let your personal preferences get in the way of saying this house is going to appreciate or depreciate, but understand what's going on in these factors.
And also remember that, as we know, that if your house is in the average market of that area, for example, for Greenville around 250,000, and you buy a house in that area, many buyers can afford it. Versus if you have $1 million of a house, of course, there is a buyer in the market, but the house sits in the market more respect to that
because less people have the $1 million.
Exactly.
And also, yes, of course, you want to buy the nicer home in an area where everybody else has even better homes. So you want to buy the ugly house in the great neighborhoods. Of course, that's where the appreciation is going to happen. But location is something, if you can transform it, and that's a great thing.
Location.
That's us, right?
That is the real estate.
Right. So last thing we want to say again is nobody here on YouTube has graduated from wizarding school.
Yeah, exactly.
As I would
like
say,
a Harry Potter type.
I did not go to Hogwarts. I cannot tell you what's going to happen in the future, and neither can any other talking head on this channel. Nobody knows the future. All we can do is look in the past, tell you what just happened, and you can forecast a little bit based on past activity, but this is not guaranteed at all. Anybody saying that the market's going to crash in 2023 or the market's going to be amazing in 2023 has no crystal ball. We did not go to divinations class. Nobody did, so nobody knows the future. What we can tell you is look at that long-term appreciation rate of 3.4% and figure out if that house is going to be worth it in the future.
And now we're gonna go to the second, because we divided in the beginning of video for the market appreciation or housing market, and the second was the force appreciation.
Absolutely.
That's what we wanted to talk about, those DIY or do-it-yourself project that helps to put more value in the house that you are trying to buy or you live in it already.
And I love making the notes for this video because let me tell you, when I did it, I said, awesome, now I have convinced my husband to take on some of these DIY projects because I hate the carpet on my stairs. I hate it so much. Like, the carpet is so ugly to me because I don't want carpet on my stairs. It's built.
Well, that is not the case for everybody.
It's not. Everybody has different things, right? Yeah. But I'm mentioning it because there are 6 factors that people look at that can bring appreciation to the house faster, and that's what we want to talk about, things that you can do yourself that bring appreciation, and you don't need to hire like professionals all the time to do it. Some of it you can, and some of it, if you are a DIY person, it's going to bring value to your home and it's going to force that appreciation. Or
you watch another YouTube about how different DIY project works for you.
Right, so if you're looking at these homes, you need to look at what you can honestly do yourself. Do not expect to say, I'm going to take this shack on and take care of everything yourself, because it's very, very expensive. So understand, is it floral wallpaper that you can take down yourself? Do you feel comfortable taking down floral wallpaper? Can you refinish those floors? What is it that you are confident that you can do? And look for houses that fit what you can do that is not going to hurt you and break your bank account. But we're going to tell you the top 6 DIY projects that definitely bring value to the home. So when you are looking at these homes, you're thinking, hey, for these things, I can definitely make it better.
Yeah, the top 2 that is the most expensive and that everybody knows is really the first kitchen remodel. No?
Absolutely. If that kitchen's old and outdated and you make that kitchen new, people, of course, are going to love it.
And the second one is the bathroom remodels, that also old bathroom, and if you do some DIY project, maybe help you to take the cost down and put a value more on your house.
A third thing that's going to be is square footage. So if you're going to add an extra bathroom or add a bedroom to the house, of course, the more square footage is going to bring the house. Now, those are all super expensive. The next 3 are
but
going to be...
But you need to basically
if you
permit.
can do it, and you need permits for that too. If you're adding space, you need permits. So you can't just add a room and not have a permit for it. But the next 3 are going to be super cheap that anybody can kind of do. You can just watch them on YouTube.
Yes. And what is the cheaper stuff? It's first paint.
First is paint, absolutely. Paints, not just paint. Knobs on the door, keeping the house clean, making sure paint. You can spend a cheap amount of paint, but make the room gorgeous. Remember when we started these, we had this ugly gray wall back here. Now we have this blue wall because it brings value to the home as well, because it's bringing updated. Number 5, next one.
Next one is basically flooring, that my wife was really talking about it, about taking off all the carpets and put like a builder grade carpet and replace it with something that she likes.
Right. And so we have walked Lowe's. We've been picking out what we want. We've been watching tutorials on how to handle it. And also the childhood memories I have of helping my mother remove carpet tells me I can take on this project without without hurting myself too much.
And the last and the most that could be also
breeding.
expensive is really the landscape. This is when the curb appeal comes. When anybody walks to your house, even without going inside of your house, look at a house and say, oh, this house is gorgeous.
Right, so plants matter. I know, plants can be super cheap, so you don't have, and you can grow them yourself. So the more you keep your house grounded and gorgeous, the better it's gonna sell.
And the last thing that we wanted to talk about, and you might thought about it before, is the taxes. No?
Right, now I'm gonna say at the beginning, your CPA is going to give you the best advice on numbers in your area, because every state's law is different, every local market is different, so the states can be different within the markets too. So if you're planning an IRS question, definitely talk to a CPA.
And as a rule of thumb, and excluding the capital gains at the time of filming this video, basically for married couple, how much you get?
You can exclude $500,000, and if it's an individual, it's $250,000.
Exactly.
So if you buy the right house, you do affordable DIY, live in it for at least 2 years currently, and then you own it for 7 years and flip it. You need to, again, your CPA is going to be able to tell you how much capital gains and all of that stuff, but you can definitely be at tax advantage. So make sure that you are owning it and understand your market.
And I hope this long video was useful. Don't
Definitely.
forget to subscribe in our channel, and see you in next podcast and video.